नाही तेवढा ते चालू केलंस ना.
Yeah, it started. It started.
Yeah, thank you.
Bring
Should
it
I have a
back.
glow?
नाही तुला तुझं.
Would somebody like to volunteer to do the prayer? Do you have it, Sinora? The short prayer that we do before the class?
Is it the same prayer for the Kabbalah
Same,
also?
same. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah. May it be your will, God, my God, and the God of my ancestors, that you guide my eyes with the light of your Torah and save me from stumbling and making mistakes. For God gives wisdom, and from God's mouth comes knowledge and understanding.
Amen.
Amen.
Would somebody like to volunteer reading the summary? This is Parashat Va'era. Next Shabbat's Parasha. Sharon Auntie, would you like to do it?
Sharon phone वर असेल. दिसत नाही.
Okay, let me read. First Aliyah, God reveals his essence to Moshe as Hashem, as Yud Ke Vav Ke, and informs him that he will surely redeem the Bene Israel from slavery. Moshe's lineage is recorded with the genealogy of Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and their descendants. Third Aliyah, God informs Moshe of his plan to harden Pharaoh's heart so as to increase and multiply his signs and miracles in Egypt, to bring out the Bene Israel people. Moshe is 80 years old and Aaron is 83 when they speak to Pharaoh. Fourth Aliyah, Moshe and Aaron relate God's message to Pharaoh to let the Israelites leave Egypt and journey to Sinai and sacrifice to him there. Again, I'll read that again. Moshe and Aaron relate God's message to Pharaoh to let the Israelites leave Egypt and journey to Sinai and sacrifice to him there. Aaron performs a miracle turning their staff to a serpent. The Egyptian magicians also do the same. Aaron's snake swallows the snakes of the Egyptian sorcerers. Pharaoh is not convinced and God asks Moshe to plague Egypt by afflicting Nile's waters and turning it to blood. When Pharaoh does not concede, Moshe performs the third plague of frogs swarming the whole of Egypt. Pharaoh asks Moshe to request God to remove the frogs. Fifth Aliyah. When Pharaoh sees that he is relieved of the plague, he becomes stubborn and does not heed Moshe's request. So the next plague of lice hits Egypt. Pharaoh's magicians cannot replicate the miracle, but Pharaoh does not give in. Moshe threatens Pharaoh with a plague of wild animals that will destroy Egypt. Sixth Aliyah. Then Moshe brings the plague of wild animals on Egypt, except for Goshen, where the Bene Israel lived. Seeing this, Pharaoh agrees to allow them to sacrifice, but not leave Egypt. Moshe does not agree, so Pharaoh gives in. Once Moshe removes the wild animals on Pharaoh's request, he becomes stubborn and does not allow the people to go. Then the next plague of pestilence, an epidemic that killed domesticated animals, destroys Egyptian livestock, but not a single beast that belonged to Bene Israel died. Yet Pharaoh remains stubborn. God asked Moshe and Aaron to take ash and throw it towards the sky, causing painful boils and inflammations to Egyptians, but still Pharaoh does not relent. Then Moshe informs Pharaoh of hail that will destroy anything that is in the open and asks him to bring everything in before it starts falling the next day. The seventh plague comes to Egypt, and Pharaoh accepts his guilt and Moshe requests God to stop the hail. Once Pharaoh sees that the plague has ceased, he hardens his heart and refuses to let the Bene Israel go. That is the 7 aliyot. So we see in Parashat Va'era are the beginning of the Exodus, the beginning of the process where God starts redeeming Israel, but it is not without the hardships that befall Egypt, right? All the 10 plagues, out of the 10 plagues, 7 plagues happen in our parasha. Although we are at Va'era, I found that there were some midrashim which were very intriguing and very, I would say, very deep, that I would have wanted to discuss, which I, out of lack of time and even sometimes even I don't have material at my, I need to search it on the web and sometimes find it in the books scattered around. So that's why I found some midrashim which would be very interesting to look into. And I think these are midrashim which are totally of a different nature altogether. The fact that we have Judah with us, I took the uh, opportunity to take this midrashim because I know that these midrashim have a very deep insight, and if we have a kabbalistic insight into it, I'm sure he will be also able to help us with it. So the first midrash that I selected is really the beginning of Parashat Shemot. The book is called Shemot. So from there we know that Bereshit Shemot, the book of Exodus in Hebrew is called Shemot. Shemot means names. So this is a midrash on the first words of the book of Shemot. And we know that the whole book is about Exodus. The whole book is about the story of Moshe Rabbeinu and his bringing out of the people from slavery into freedom, and then their I mean, the beginning of their journey into the desert, right, the wilderness. But for whatever reason, our Jewish tradition calls it Shemot, underlying the fact that there is something important about the word that is given, the name given to the book. I mean, if you really think practically, it is just the first word of the book.
Old name was Sefer, going out of Egypt.
Sefer Yetzirah. Yetziat Mitzrayim. Sefer Yetziat Mitzrayim.
It's the oldest name.
That is the oldest name, Judah tells me, is Sefer Yetziat Mitzrayim, the book of coming out of Egypt or going out of Egypt.
The rabbinical tradition gives this name. Shemot. First.
The reason Shemot is mentioned is the first verse is Ve'elle Shemot, and these are the names of the children of Israel. I'm reading in the Midrash Rabbah, Parashat Shemot, Midrash Rabbah 1, chapter 1, third Midrash. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Jacob and his sons, each man and his household came. Israel, each man and his household came. Now, if you will remember, and if you had gone over the end of the book of Bereshit, you will see that there is a whole lineage over there, which in detail tells you what were the names of each individual that descended into Egypt. So really, this is a continuation of the same tale. So the question of the Midrash is, why repeat? We were told what is so important that the Torah wants to repeat this, because to begin with, Torah is a précis. Torah uses as minimum language as possible to express its ideas. So it doesn't go into detail. It normally doesn't do repetition, if only for some reason. So the Midrash is asking, what is the reason for this repetition? Shemot. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Jacob and his sons, each man and his household came. Israel is comparable to the multitude of the heavens. Multitude of the heavens are the stars and the planets of the heavens. Here it is said names, and it is said of stars names. As it is said in Psalms 147:4, he counted the number of the stars. He giveth them all their names. Even the Holy One, blessed be he. When Israel descended to Egypt, counted how many they were. And because they are compared to the stars, he gave them all names, as it is written, and these are the names of the children of Israel. So the first thing the midrash does, it says that God, according to a source in Tehillim, names the stars, right? And since he names the stars, he giveth names to the stars, he counted the number of stars. Though really it doesn't say names the stars. He first counts the numbers of stars, which is impossible from any human capability. So God counts the number of stars, and he gives them all their names. So all the names are given by Hashem. Each individual star is given a name by God. And since in Psalms you see that stars are named, so Israel is comparable to the multitude of heavens. Israel is comparable to the stars, and that's why God names. Names is important for God, and these are the names. Israel is comparable to the multitude of stars, and that's why he gives them all their names. What do you understand? So big deal, God names the stars. Since God names the stars, he also names Israel, all the names of Israel, and that's why the repetition is important. Can you make any head or tail of this midrash? Let me finish the midrash again. He counted the number of the stars. He giveth them all their names. Even the Holy One, blessed is he. When Israel descended to Egypt, counted how many they were. And because they are compared to the stars, he gave them all names, as it is written. And these are the names of the children of Israel. And furthermore, Hamim decided, oh, this is a fantastic idea. This is such an important idea that we have to name the book names. Go figure. What is the midrash trying to reveal? We are about 1, 2, 3, 4.
Joshua, you're on mute.
Thank you. Since when am I on mute? Just now? Did you all miss anything? No. Sorry. So, the point of this midrash and such similar midrashim is that it is going to somehow tickle, somehow instill in you some creative movement in your mind, so that you all will be able to open up to an idea which is just sitting there. There is just the name. This idea is sitting there in the Torah. The names are repeated, and it is important. The midrash wants to point it out to you. How can it be important? That is the question we ask ourselves when we start on the journey. Let me give you some tools to break the midrash up. It compares you to stars, right? Where else in the Torah you know that Am Israel is compared to stars? That should be a quick one.
Unmute and tell.
Please unmute. Yes, if somebody is speaking.
Yaakov is mentioned, that his sons will be like the stars at that
Nice.
time.
To Abraham and to Yaakov and to Ishak also, God mentions that I am going to give you progeny. Your descendants will be like the stars in the heaven. Correct?
Dust of the earth and
And
stars.
also dust of the earth. But over here we are inquiring into the stars. So stars of the heaven. That is the first connection we have, that this is a blessing that is given to us. Am Israel is supposed to be stars of the heaven. Right? Now let me ask you, when we were counted, when this number really is being mentioned, right? Were we like the stars in the heaven? These are the names of the children who came to Egypt. Were we like stars in heaven? How many were we?
70.
We were total 70, including Joseph sitting there and his two children. Right?
70.
Or 70 plus maybe Joseph is one more.
No,
I don't know.
67 and 3.
67 plus 3. Okay. So we were not like stars. When this pasuk is really being mentioned and the names are being counted, it is not that we were like the stars. But still then, the midrash takes a creative jump and relates and goes into the future. Because only later on in Parashat Shemot, we see that when the Pharaoh made them slaves and decided to work them very hard. Sorry? Somebody wanted to say something? Ezekiel uncle?
Yes.
बोला बोला काय म्हणता?
नाही मिळत नव्हतं.
इझिकेल अंकल तुमचा आवाज सुरू होतोय पण मग बंद होतोय, तो डिस्कनेक्ट होतो काहीतरी.
ओपन होत नव्हतं, आता मोठ्या मुश्किलने ओपन केला.
हा ओपन झाला. या 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 वेलकम.
ओके
राईट. ओके, तर अगेन टू open up the midrash, we have to understand the creative work of the darshan over here. So he is, when we were only 70 souls, right? This lineage is given. But here, in fact, in Shemot, it is not even the whole lineage. It only says that each man and his household came. So the men's names are even not mentioned. But why even mention this whole 2 lines which come already in Bereshit? That is the problem the Darshan has. And he is not really a problem. It is the jumping board on which he takes the leap to teach you an idea. The idea is that we are going to be like the multitude of stars at some point, because that is the blessing we have. Since we are going to be a multitude of stars and God names stars and counts them, that's why God names Am Israel and counts them. So now let us understand what is the definition of counting somebody and naming it. What does it really entail? What is the point? When in language this concept is used that he named him or he counted him, what really is behind the concept? What is happening? When do you name somebody or when do you count somebody?
We usually count when we have some tasks ahead,
or when you have a relation with that this thing.
Good. But I missed David's comment because it just got blurred. David, can you repeat yourself?
I was saying we would count, especially when there is a task that is to be performed. So we know, like a battle, like a war.
Oh, nice.
Or,
Right. So counting could happen when a king needs the number of soldiers and he needs to know if he has that many number of soldiers, so he will do a count. So a task is being performed and he needs to take care of you are a manager and you need to know how everything is going to function, and you have a team that you want to lead, and then the team is important to you because you need to know each one is doing its job, right? So then you need to have a count what is, who is where, and what is happening, correct? And auntie said that there is a relationship, so there is some kind of endearment, there is something very close to you. That's when you want to call them out by name or name them, or have a relationship with them through the name. Very important, right? So both these ideas, now we see that the multitude of heaven is God's team to do the work over here, to make this physical world happen. It is his team that is important to him, and he needs to count them and name them because each one is crucial in his task. Everyone is performing something for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So everyone is crucial for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's why Hashem names them. That this guy and this guy, whatever, the sun has X, Y, Z role, the moon has X, Y, Z role. And similarly, all planets and every star and every entity in the multitude of heavens has a role to play, and that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu names them. He has a relationship with them. And similarly, he also they have a role to play in terms of his creation. Very nice. Now that we figure that out, how do we relate that to Am Israel? Does Am Israel have a role to play in this world? It does, right? We are the chosen people for a role, and that role is very important for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it just so happens that, like the multitude of stars are supposed to run his physical world, similarly, Am Israel is supposed to make some things happen over here so that redemption will happen. Correct? We have already gone over the whole Torah, so we know the plan, the game plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why he chose Am Israel. Right? So that's why the midrash now is revealing itself. Why is it important that Am Israel was counted and named? Because 70 souls and each one's name is given, so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is depending on them to play a certain important role in the destiny of humanity. Okay, is that good enough or not even so? There's still more to come, huh? We think that the midrash has to have something more deeper, right? Okay, so we knew this. This is the beginning. Now think about it. When you were 70, it is easy to count, right? But then at a point when it becomes, as it says, there are four inflection words that express that the growth of Am Israel happened in Egypt after after Pharaoh decides to oppress them. Then it says that Ufru, I don't remember now. Shretsu, that's the word from Sheretz, like reptiles. Me'od. That is how it explains. Anyway, I'm not going to search for it because it is going to take time. But anyway, so from there, the Torah learns that every time, every delivery were not twins, not triplets, but quadruplets. Four children were born every time a woman delivered. That is how they are. In 210 years, they became 600,000 people. So now think about it. When you are 70, it is but natural that you will keep account. But when suddenly you have a population explosion, right? And you are teeming and you with numbers, it is just beyond control. You have a family, and the family becomes a clan, and the clan becomes a tribe, right? All in 200 years, right? That is really what the midrash is talking about. Even when that happened, that there was this humongous growth from 70 to 600,000, God saw to it that each individual was named, that each individual was important for him, that he had a relationship with each individual, and each individual had a role to play in his plan. Now that, because if it was just 70, then it is okay to count. If it was even 700, it is okay to count. But 600,000, that number in a short span of time, and then you lose all count. You just say, oh, it is the tribe of Ephraim, it is the tribe of Menashe, it is the tribe of Reuben, Shimon, Levi, right? You don't know how many people know, but for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they were like the stars. Each individual was important for him, and each individual was important because they individually had a relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the point the midrash is making. Okay, anything to add?
Yeah, the concept of number and name. Marathi bolo? Okay, the concept of number and names, you have to understand what is the concept of number and name. When you have a number is just a number. Okay, like in the school, everybody has been to a school, so you have a roll number. So what is a roll number? Roll number is a number. So in order that the teacher knows you, if she calls you by your name, it means that she knows you. And if she calls you by your roll number, it means that she doesn't know you. She just knows your number. Okay, because usually what teachers do, like if somebody is doing a mischief, what the teacher do? She'll come and she'll ask this person who is doing mischief, what is your roll number? Why? Because she's going to forget his name, but the number she's going to remember, because she has to do something with the number. So a number is given to a person when the importance of his action is not so important. When do you know a person? You know a person when his action is important to you, when he loves you, when he's in relation with you, when he's your friend or something. You know his name. But if he's not, he's nobody to you. What? There's nothing to remember about you. He doesn't have a story. He doesn't have something. So you can remember him by a number. What the government is doing is the government is giving you just numbers, no? Aadhaar number, this number, passport number. So what are all these numbers? It means that you are insignificant for the country, or for whatever purpose the number is giving. It means that you are insignificant, like you are just a number in their system. If you are remembered by a country by name, like for example Mahatma Gandhi, everybody knows Mahatma Gandhi, no? Why? Because they remember his deeds, remember his action, remember the history, the story, everything. So number and names like has two different symbolism in spirituality. When it says, and these are the names of the children of Israel, it means that their action, there is something which is, God is having relation with them. God is in relationship with them, and God knows each and everyone by a name. It doesn't say that the number of people who came to Egypt were 70. Because if it said 70, then it would be that God is not in relation with everybody. God is only in relation with Jacob or Israel or Joseph, and the other are insignificant. When it says that these are the names of the children of Israel, it means that each and every individual who came to Egypt, it was personal relationship with God, and God knew each and everybody by name. Okay, the second thing is why 70. Okay, so 70 astrologically, like also spiritually, astrologically 70, 12, all these numbers have some spiritual significance, kabbalistical significance. It says that there are 70 angels who take care of all the affairs of nations in the world. There are 70 nations, there are 70 languages, 70 nations, and these 70 nations are in charge of all these 70 angels are in charge of all the 70s in this material world. So the number 70 also signifies something. Number 12 signifies the space around the world, material world, the 12 zodiac signs. Okay, 70 angels which are in charge of the world. Okay, and there is the nation of Israel. Okay, who it is the 71st nation, and this nation, who is in charge of this nation? Hakadosh Baruch, who is in charge of this nation. So Israel is not under any of the angels who control the nations, but under Israel. So it shows that the structure of the world is according to the structure of what God is doing with Israel. Like for God, Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Abraham, then Isaac, then Yaakov, then 12 children of Yaakov, then 70 people from Yaakov's family. Okay, so this is how it is showing you how the nation of Israel is structured according to the creation, because this is how the creation is structured, and this is how the nation of Israel is structured by God also. It's a little complicated. It is related to astrology and all these things, but this is the way it says that 70 nations. So also it says that the world is structured according to the number of children of Israel. So this is the thing which says about the 70 people who descended from Yaakov.
Yeah,
More we will do afterwards, but now
that pasuk, in fact, is said in the last song of Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah, that God structured 70 according to the 70 descendants of Yaakov. The whole world was pre-planned because Yaakov was later going to have 70 descendants who will venture into Egypt. These were the initial souls that built Am Israel. That's why there were 70 nations. That's what the idea is.
even Noah's descendants are 70.
Even Noah's descendants were 70. Okay. Now the next midrash. Again, both these midrashim are from yesterday's parasha, and so we will have some overlap sort of, but it is good to understand these ideas. Now this is a lengthy midrash, if I may, and I may, but I think it is very fodder for the fodder for the mind, because this midrash just is very, very creative about what it is talking about, and when we just read it, sometimes we miss what it wants to do. So again, this one is for creative interpretation. Please go ahead and open up your minds and start to interpret like we did the first one. See what connection links you have with this, and then let's see how this works. And God said to Aaron, go to meet Moshe in the wilderness. And this is last week's parasha. Moshe was told to go and meet Aaron, and God also told Aaron, go and meet Moshe. Go to meet Moshe in the wilderness. Now, this is what which is written. God thunders wonders with his voice. In Eov, there is this pasuk. So God thunders wonders with his voice. What is it that he thunders? When the Holy One, blessed be he, gave the Torah at Sinai. Now this is happening later, right? So it's just going to go into what happened at Sinai. He showed wonders of wonders to Israel. How is it? The Holy One, blessed be he, would speak, and the voice would go out and travel the whole world. Israel would hear the voice coming in to them from the south. Then they would run to the south to meet the voice. And from the south, it would switch for them to the north. And they would all run to the north. And from the north, it would switch to the east. And they would run to the east. And from the east, it would switch to the west. And they would run to the west. And from the west, it would switch to be from the heavens. And they would suspend their eyes, like lift up their eyes to the heavens. And it would switch to the earth. And they would stare at the earth, as it is stated in Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy, what is it? From the heavens did he make you hear his voice to discipline you. So the last heavens is mentioned here. And Israel would say one to the other, and wisdom from where can it be found? In Job it says, and Israel would say, from where is the Holy One, blessed be he, coming? From the east or from the south? As it is stated, the Lord came from Sinai and shone from Seir in the east to them. And it is written, and God will come from Teman, which is south. Teman in Hebrew means the south. And it is stated, and all the people saw the sounds, literally voices. And the people saw the sounds. The people saw the voices. Okay, so there was a mishmash of different ideas over here. Let me just try to excuse me, repeat what the midrash is doing. First of all, Aaron gets a message. Because Aaron gets a message, Aaron is already in Egypt, Moshe is in Moab. Moshe gets a message, go to Egypt. Similarly, Aaron gets a message, go and meet Moshe. Okay, in the wilderness. Go and meet him in the desert. He is on his way. Out of that idea, the darshan starts to tell you about the wonders of the voice of God. Then it begins by saying, then thunders wonders. The voice thunders wonders. And then it talks about the wonders that happened in Sinai, because that's where Am Israel heard God's voice. Then it goes on to tell you, really the voice came, but there was the voice ran to the south, then to the east, then to the west, then to the north, whatever. And every time they were running after the voice, sort of wherever it was, and they were all confused. And then it was in the heavens, and then coming from the earth. So all over, the sound was overwhelming them. And they were all sort of confused. If we take the literal understanding of this, then they were running towards the voice because it was attracting them maybe. And once they thought that it was coming from one certain point, the point of the voice changed. Okay, that's something, a wondrous quality of the sound. That is how it is. He is explaining what is the wonder of the sound of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So that is something wondrous about the sound of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then he goes on to bring Pesukim, which says that yes, we have proof text which says that the sound came from Seir, which is east, or the sound came from Teman, which is south. Then also we have, and all the people saw the sounds. So not the one single sound, but sounds. He is not underlining the saw over here. Here really it should have been heard, but in the Torah it says saw. That is not what he is underlining. He is underlining they saw the sounds. Sounds means more than one sound. And that is why it fits with the midrash sort of, that there were sounds coming from all different sides. Till here, everything okay? Shall we move on? Because the midrash is a little long. Is it not written sound? It is not written sound here, but rather sounds, as I just said. Rabbi Yohanan said the voice would go out and divide into 70 voices. Again, you get the 70 for the 70 languages, so that all the nations would hear. And each and every nation would hear in the language of the nation, and their souls would depart. Once the nations could hear the sound of God, they passed on. But Israel would hear and they would not be injured. How did the voice go out? Rabbi Tanhuma said it would go with two faces. One would kill the idolaters who did not accept it, and one would give life to Israel that did accept it. This is what Moshe stated to them at the end of 40 years. As who is it from all flesh that heard the voice of the living God speak from amidst the fire? You would hear his voice and live, but idolaters heard and died. Come and see how the voice would go out among all of nations, each and every one according to his strength. The elders according to their strength, the young men according to their strength, the infants according to their strength, the sucklings according to their strength, the woman according to their strength, and even Moshe according to his strength. As it is stated, Moshe would speak and God would answer him with a voice that he could withstand. And so too it states the voice of the Lord is in strength. It is not stated in his strength, but rather in strength, in the strength of each and every one, and even the pregnant woman according to their strength. Hence, one would say each and every one according to his strength, each small. Rabbi Yosef Bar Hanina said, if you wonder about this thing, learn from the manna, as it would only come down according to the strength of each and every one of Israel. The young man would eat it like bread, as it is stated, behold, I rain upon you bread like the skies, the elders like a wafer in honey, as it stated, and its taste was a wafer like a wafer in honey. the sucklings, like the milk of its mother's breast, as it states, its taste was like the taste of, etc. Milk. The sick ones like fine floured milk mixed with honey, as it stated, and my bread that I gave you, fine flour and oil I fed you, and the idolaters tasted it bitter and coriander, as it is stated, and the manna was like a coriander seed. I think that is the end. Oh, the midrash goes on. Wow. And Rabbi Yosef bar Rabbi Hanina said, and since the manna, which was one type, switched to many types because of the need of many, each and every one of us, all the more so the voice that had the strength in it would change for each and every one, so that they would not be injured. Okay, so let us repeat the second portion of this. Here it says sounds. Then it goes on to say that the sound of HaKadosh Baruch Hu divided into 70 nations and went out to all the 70 nations. Those who heard it and were idolaters died. Those who were accepting of it did not die, because Moshe clearly says that you heard the voice and you lived. On the basis of that, there are others who heard the voice and died. So for Am Israel is saying that you heard the voice of God and lived. Then it goes on to tell you that the voice has an ability that it comes with strength. Now, this strength is according to the strength of the recipient. How much is his ability to grasp it? That is how the voice sort of differentiates itself. So for Moshe, according to his strength, and for the pregnant woman, according to her strength, and for the infants, according to their strength, nobody was just sort of disturbed or destroyed by it. It came according to it is very strong. For those who are strong, it comes very strong. Those who are weak, it comes a little weaker for them. But it is strong according to their potential. Then it goes on to talk about the manna, and it says this can be compared with the manna. And manna also changed its capacity or taste or whatever, however you accept that. So for the youngsters, it was like honey mixed with flour. For the older, it was wafer in honey. For the elders, it was bread from the skies. And for the idolaters, those who were not, it was like bitter coriander. Okay, so this is what we just read. This is again explaining that the sound of HaKadosh Baruch Hu has so many aspects. Then we come back to the fourth line, and all the people saw the voices. Hence, it is stated, all the people saw the voices. Hence, God thunders wonders with his voice. Another explanation, God thunders wonders with his voice. Rabbi Levi said, there are three voices that go from the end of the earth world to its end. And even though the creatures are among them, they do not hear at all. And these are them: the day, the rains, and the soul at the time that it departs from the body. From where do I know the day? Rabbi Yehuda bar Eli said, this star, the sun that makes the day, that floats in the sky, is none else than a saw. In some books it says a nail placed in wood. From where do I know the rains? As it states, a depth calls to the voice of your channels. How is this? There is a tree with roots going down 20 ells. There is 130. There is 150, and there is one. That one goes down 300s. And if the rains above only water the ones that are 300s, the ones of 50 ells die. And if ones of 50 drink, it destroys the ones 300s. Rather, this is the top depth calling to the bottom, saying, arise and I will come down, and the bottom saying, come down and I will arise. Until the top goes down and waters the ones of the 300s, and the bottom comes up and waters the ones of 50. Come and see how much distance is between these and those, and they call one to the other. And even though people are among them, they do not know, they do not hear. Hence, God thunders wonders with his voice, and the soul at the time that it departs from the body. And even though people are sitting next to him, they do not hear. Hence, God thunders wonders with his voice. Rabbi Reuven said, at the time that the Holy One, blessed be He, said to Moshe in Midian, go, return to Egypt. The speech divided into two voices. Now this is the beginning pasuk. When Moshe in Midian was said, go, return to Egypt, at the same time the speech divided into two voices and it became two faces. The Moshe heard in Midian, go, return to Egypt, and Aaron heard, go meet Moshe in the wilderness. Hence God thunders, wonders with his voice. Okay. What is this midrash talking about? Very simple question, long midrash, but it is complicated midrash. It is bringing different examples to bring a point. What is it talking about? When it says voice of God, thunders, wonders, what is it talking about? All answers are right, okay? Please. There's no right or wrong. All answers are right. Please participate in this exercise. That is the only way you are able to, study Torah. The Torah study is not taking in information. Torah study is making yourself available to information that comes through you. I don't know if I'm being articulate about it, but there is something that would happen. That is creative process that happens through you. These are all what would you say? Channels, but to open the channel, first you need a springboard. So this is what it is. We want you to open the channels. To wait for the rabbi to give his interpretation is his interpretation. That is mine. That may be right or wrong, I don't know. But we would like you to participate. So open yourselves up to this creative endeavor. That is what is real Torah study. Then you will get the channel and you will get the enjoyment out of it. Who would like to take the first try? David?
Yeah, I think it is got to do with voice, the importance of sound in some form. Because I was reading, sound is the first thing, then comes the thought, and then the action. So, sound, the importance of sound, and how people perceive sound.
So you said sound and then what? Thought?
Sound first comes the sound, the voice,
and
then
then
the
thought?
thought, and then the action.
Nice. Okay.
So they go in these three movements. So the sound, but the sound, the same, like at least what it is mentioning is many different people will interpret it in their own way. Something which is like the subconscious state. It is always there with you, but they interpret it differently.
Good. So let me first of all unwrap what David is trying to say. David is talking about our normal consciousness, right? In our normal consciousness, we know that we act. We are human beings who are in an action world. We do things. We do things because something moves us. The thought in us tells us to do something. But the thought really comes to us because there is something in the seed, sort of, which makes that thought happen. And David is calling that the sound. If that is the sound, then he is relating that sound to something which is divine. So if it is the divine sound that moves you to thinking and that thought moves you to action, then the divine sound is really coming to you according to your capacity. That is what David thinks. According to this midrash, the capacity is colored by your subconscious, your training, your input, your mind, so to say, your conditionings, your what are your desires, or wherever you are holding at a certain point in time, that particular sound is going to sound. He's calling it that divine sound. That's that's that seed of the thought is going to impact you. Very nice, beautiful. Yes, any other ideas? Okay, come on, let's not just Jeremiah, are you there? Any input from you? Are you busy? He is driving.
Driving.
Okay. Right. So the first line and the last line, basically what the midrash is trying to say is divine sound when it came to Moshe. At the same time, like, God doesn't speak to Moshe and to Aaron. There is a desire that God has, that desire tells Moshe to move out from Midian and go to Egypt. At the same time, that same desire moves, God's desire moves Aaron, and that is God's sound. It breaks up into two at the same juncture. That he makes a desire that Moshe will move. Similarly, when he wills that Aaron will meet him, that sound goes to Aaron, and it is the same. It is the same process. There are no two different tellings of the sound. So when Hakadosh Baruch Hu, so basically what it is talking about is nevuah. How does nevuah express itself in this world? Okay. So, and I am not rejecting David's opinion at all. In fact, what he said is very correct. There is certainly a root of, I would, before I go into my explanation, I would like to just clarify, sometimes we think that everybody has nevuah. So that is a seed of the thought, because each individual has a role to play. He has a tikkun according to Kabbalah. He has a game plan set, which is in a framework of free choices. The framework is given to him. He has free choices how he gets to it. But there is always something which we'll call the will, right? Let us call it the will. There is something which wills it. Like, the trees that are planted, they like to grow upwards. They have a will to grow towards the sun because they want to touch the skies, sort of. That's in one talk I had heard that's why one of these artists, I think it was Picasso, I don't know, makes his trees very tall. So they asked him, why this is unnatural. Why do you paint your trees too tall? He said, no, because I can see in the trees that they have this will towards the skies. They have a desire to touch the skies. Okay, so they want to touch the skies, but that desire is inbuilt into them. Similarly, there is an inbuilt ability in each one of us to achieve a certain tikkun. That is where our lives are going to take us. All the seeds of thoughts that come to us, if we are not able to disturb them or distract them or um, misinterpret them, it is going to take us to our tikkun. So there is the truth in our soul. There is this capacity towards that, and I think David is very right about it. But over here, it is on a bigger plane of prophecy. I think that same idea is represented, where the mind really doesn't even have a role to play, because once the sound of Hakadosh Baruch Hu expresses itself, then there is no freedom of choice left, sort of. In Moshe's story, you really think that Moshe is giving a tough argument to God why he doesn't want to do whatever God is. But once it is clear to him who God is and what he wants, he doesn't really have a say in the matter, does he? He has to listen to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, right? Similarly, here in this bigger picture, you see that the sound of God is his desire. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire when it sort of penetrates into our plane. So the sound sort of, or let us using a um, metaphor of our physical world, right, is a physical world where we are in a dimension of space, right? So the sound breaks down into a dimension of space, sort of, and it is as if all space is covered, or through all areas the space represents east, west, north, south, top and bottom, right? The sky and the earth. All the 6 dimensions are basically throwing the sound to you. It happens like everything is involved. You cannot figure out when sound from the other dimension or other sphere, the divine sphere, Hakadosh Baruch Hu's will enters our sphere as sound, then it is going to sort of come from all the dimensions of space. It is also about time. The same thing is said in this midrash. They don't bring it down, or maybe I'm missing
70 nations.
70 nations
Time.
is time.
70
nice.
interpretations of the mind.
70 interpretations of the mind. Judah says that is talking about the how the voice of God also basically breaks up into the dimensions of time, or the 70 interpretations of the mind, which the mind interprets in time. It needs time, I assume. That is how it has to be understood. So nevuah is something that comes from beyond, but it encompasses all the dimensions that we understand in our space and time zone, our physicality. And it is giving examples that all spiritual uh, entities, let us call it, for example, the manna, right? It was a spiritual gift. It also had that quality that it could express itself according to where the receiver was holding. So the reason it breaks up into all these aspects is so that it reaches the one who receives it according to its strength. So it doesn't destroy you. So it doesn't, otherwise the capability of that sound is to basically suck you in. That is what I think. But Hakadosh Baruch Hu, out of his mercy, has given you the ability, given an ability to his sound, so that it can come to each one according to its potential, according to wherever its strength is. And it is again about the manna, also the same idea, and the sound, the same idea. The idea is that spirituality, when it penetrates physical world, it breaks itself up to its dimensions, to its contours, to its east, west, north, south, earth, and heavens, to its taste, so that the Hakadosh Baruch Hu, out of his mercy for the recipient, makes this available to him according to his means. That is what I think. There is much more in this midrash, I know, but let's ask Judah to add some ideas, and then I will come back.
Yeah, when it says that you like when we started, you saw that it is saying that they saw the voice. So is it possible for you to see a voice? Like, can somebody see a voice? Like scientifically, it has been proven that people can see the voice, but it is not seeing the voice outside. It is seeing the voice internal. It is something a meditative state. It is speaking about the state of the people who were receiving the voices, that it was something which was not a physical state but other state. But when it says saw the voice, when do you see something? Like if a king says that I want to build a bridge, okay, this is the voice, no? But when do you see the voice? When the bridge is built. So for everybody, okay, whatever God says, you can just see it, because you can see it when it happens. When everything is finished, you can see it. So it is seen. But you can see that here it says that Moshe and Aaron, they are hearing the voice. For them, it is another level. It is a level which is different. It is a prophecy level. So in the prophetic level, you hear the songs, hear the voice means it is some telling about the quality of hearing. Hearing means it is like the king telling, I want to build a bridge, and they are hearing the voice. It is the beginning. Okay, and when it says that they saw the voice, what is the saw the voice? It is the end. It is when it is explained or when it is told. Because the thing which the prophecy which is happening is heard by Moshe and Aaron and maybe more of the maybe who were the prophets who were there with them. But for all the other people, it is like seeing the voice. It has to be explained by Moshe, Aaron, and all the people that what it is, and it is like this: see the voice. So therefore, it says that according to your strength, can you can digest you can digest the thing. So for some people it is like seeing, and some people it is like hearing. The people who hear are like near to the source, and people who are seeing are a little bit further away from the source. Therefore, it is telling about all the 30-60 L's and all the sun and everything. A depth is called a depth and everything. What it is telling you, it is like if rain falls with all its speed, like we have this no badal phata. So if the rain falls with all its speeds, what will happen? That everything will be like destroyed. The mountains and everything will be destroyed. So what the rain does? The rain falls in slow, like drops, droplets, and sprinkles. Why it falls like this? Because then the life which is in the upper layer can have the water. Life which is in the lower layer in the root which are going to the lower level can wait for some time and then have the water. And the roots which are very deeper, they can also have the water. And there is a system of water going from upper level, like there's underground water and all those systems. So it is telling about that system. It is same with prophecy, same with voice of God, because God is merciful. He doesn't want to destroy the world. So it comes according to the strength, means it comes according to the strength of the people who are ready to hear to this voice. And what Joshua told about the space and time, so it is just an explanation that prophecy, when it comes here, it has to come to this barrier of space and time to us, because space and time, it is for us. It is created by Hashem. So when Hashem speaks, he speaks above the dimension of space and time. So this space and time dimension, his voice has to cross this space and time dimension. When crossing, how it is crossing? The 70 ways of the mind, the time dimension, the 6 direction of the universe, up, down, east, west, north, south, and how it comes. So like it's telling you dynamic about how they receive the prophecy, how the prophecy is received by all the people there, from Moshe till the pregnant woman.
Thank you, Judah. Wow, that was interesting. I missed that whole idea of the deaths and the rainfall. But good, Judah brought me back to that. So that is how even in physical world, and what we see, his mercies in the physical world are really an expression of his systems up above. That is the principle that spirituality works with. What is up there is down below. What is in the macrocosm is in the microcosm. So in the microcosm, we see that out of his mercies, the way that plants are fed, rains are fed, it's like huge trees, right? 3 months of rain are not enough for them. So for them, there will be water channels and water being collected underground and underground water bodies that are going to feed them throughout the year. But for the trees which are smaller and which are in the first half of the ground, It is just these rains and the moisture that is collected in the soil and the ability for whatever you have, grasses or whatever, to hold on to the earth so that the earth doesn't wash away. The whole system is, you see that there is so much mercy in it that everybody will get proper nourishment from the rains. And that's why it says that rains hear Hakadosh Baruch Hu's sound. Similarly, the sun hears Hakadosh Baruch Hu's sound because the sun is what keeps the whole earth alive, right? So, and if it was not merciful system, then everything would have been just like on Mars, right? But because the system is merciful, we are not burnt alive, and we can enjoy the sun, and we can it percolates through systems of the atmosphere and everything, so that we will be able to enjoy it. Similarly, it says the sun, the rains, and then the third one was what? Who hears it? Here is the midrash. Let's say three voices that go out from the end of the word. The rains and the soul, and the soul at the time that it departs from the body. This is when a person has finished his role on this earth and he is supposed to move on. So over there also, that person who is going to lose his body is going to give up his soul.
No, he hears by his soul. This is the level of hearing.
So his level of hearing, he hears the sound at the time of departure. His soul hears the sound at the time. Nobody around does. But then that is also a merciful, it looks like that is the idea, that it is a merciful way, that otherwise it would be too traumatic for the soul to give up its body. But it is a certain system over here that you hear the divine sound, and the divine sound attracts you, and is I mean, from stories that of people who have had near death experiences and stuff like that, you know that it is a very, very warm and welcoming experience. Also, it is not only traumatic, although it is traumatic on one level, but this sound makes it possible for men to not, or human beings not to really lose their connection with Hakadosh Baruch Hu. No? You want to add anything?
No.
Okay, how are we doing on time?
Everybody understood.
Yeah. Any more questions? This midrash is really, the speech divides into two voices. Again, tells you that the last point and the first point, how even for the Nevi'im, Moshe was a Navi and Aaron was a Navi. It is the same idea, that thought process breaks into two, reaches them as if they heard a voice individually for themselves alone. That Moshe, you go over there, and Aaron, you go. But it is really Hakadosh Baruch Hu's will. He willed it, and these two people heard these voices separately as if individually coming to them. But it is one and the same voice. Okay, so that is the quality of Nevuah. So we have to understand Nevuah as God's will. That's what I gather, that it is Hakadosh Baruch Hu's will, but it comes to us as if it is in a sound. Or it may be a desire, not according to our strength. Right.
For soul also there is three voices. So it is
okay.
It says no, for soul it breaks into three. So it is like for the soul also there are three levels of prophecy.
It is in this midrash.
I missed it. No. For the soul it breaks into three. It's somewhere here, no?
Yeah, maybe. Whatever. Yeah, but
three. There are three voices that go from end to end.
Okay. Anyway, so any questions up to here? Was this interesting or too boring? Please. So I will be able to know what to select for you next time. Are we all on the same page? David?
Yeah, all good from my side.
All good from David. Yeah. Sharona auntie. Sharona auntie.
But I wanted to ask you, God spoke in a thunder way.
Okay. So what the midrash is really saying is God's voice is very powerful, but it is only as much powerful as you can bear. Right? So
Okay.
for Moshe Rabbeinu, the power of the sound must have been very, very tremendous. But for the woman who was pregnant, it was still powerful, but it was something that she could bear, that she would not have a baby immediately out of that experience.
वीज चमकल्यावर कसं आपल्याला भीती वाटतं पण आपण बेअर करू शकतो तसा म्हणजे वीक लोकांसाठी तो आवाज तसा होता. पण जे स्ट्रॉंग होतं त्यांच्यासाठी जास्ती हे होता. मोशे आणि आरोनसाठी आवाजासारखा आवाज होता तो. ती लोक ऐकत होतं, त्यांना समजत होता. इट इज लाईक लेवलच्या प्रमाणे तो नेबुवा त्या लोकांनी आला. म्हणजे सगळ्यांना नेबुवा आला तो. हा आज्ञा सगळ्यांनी ऐकला पण त्यांच्या लेवलच्या हिशोबाने. म्हणून तोरा आपल्याला तसाच सांगितलं ना. तोरा आपल्याला तसाच दिलेला आहे की लहान मुलगा त्याच्यामध्ये वाचतो ना तेव्हा त्याला त्याच्या लेवलनी समजतं त्या स्टोरी. मोठा माणूस वाचतो त्याला त्याच्या लेवलनी समजतात तीच स्टोरी. अजून वाईज झालेला माणूस असतो त्याला अजून लेवलनी समजतात. तसं आता आपण ह्या मिद्राश म्हणून कब्बालिस्टिकली कसं अंडरस्टँडिंग त्याच्यामध्येच आहे ते पण बघितलं. म्हणजे एकदम तुम्ही अजून हे झालं, तुमची स्ट्रेंथ अजून वाढली तर तुम्ही त्याच्यामधून तुम्हाला अजून समजू शकते. तर ते कसं आहे त्या गोष्टीमध्ये, कारण तो प्रॉफेसी आहे, तो प्रॉफिट, तो दिलेला देवानी सांगितलेला हे आहे. ती 10 आज्ञा आणि आका सगळा देवानी सांगितलं आहे. तर म्हणून तो आपल्याला आपल्या स्ट्रेंथनी समजतं. त्याचा दुसरा मिनिंग असा आहे की आपल्याला आपली स्ट्रेंथ वाढवत गेली पाहिजे. आपल्याला नुसतं फिजिकल लेवल मध्ये किंवा मेंटल किंवा इमोशनल लेवल मध्ये किंवा माइंडच्या लेवल मध्ये नाही तर सोलच्या लेवल मध्ये आणि सोलच्या हायेस्ट लेवल पर्यंत आपल्याला समजेल असं आपण स्टडी केला पाहिजे तो, किंवा असं आपण त्याला इंटरप्रेट केला पाहिजे. आणि ते इंटरप्रेट करायसाठीच हे मिद्राश आहे. आणि आपण हे मिद्राश घेऊन ते इंटरप्रेटच करतोय ना, कनेक्ट करतोय आपण त्याला आपल्याच सोल, आपल्याच आतमधल्या वेगवेगळ्या लेवलला आपण स्ट्रेंथला आपण कनेक्ट करतोय.
Thank you, Judah. Okay, let's. How are we doing on time? Okay, we are more or less at the fag end. I had brought one more midrash, or two more midrashim. Really, is it 3? Oh. Let us decide which one to do. Let us take this one. This is a nice, easier one, I think. And God spoke unto Moshe. Rabbi Meir said, God said here, be compared to a mortal king. God can be compared to a mortal king who was about to give his daughter away in marriage, invited a provincial to act as agent between them. When this man began to talk proudly in front of the king said, who had made thy heart big? Was it not I who appointed thee as an agent? Thus did God say to Moses, who caused thee to say all these things? If not I who promoted thee to higher rank? Rabbi Yehuda said, Moses argued thus, when thou didst say unto me, go, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, thou didst speak unto me with the attribute of mercy, promising that thou wouldst on one day redeem them. Now I fear lest before I came it was changed to the attribute of justice. So God said to him, I am the Lord, I stand before thee with my attribute of mercy. Hence, and he said unto them, I am the Lord. This is really on the first pasuk of Parashat Vayera. See, what happens is, in Parashat Shemot, Moshe Rabbeinu with Aharon goes inside and tells Pharaoh. I think that is where it is, right? Let me, or maybe it is not. Parashat Vayera, Shemot. Because I read it in Haftarah also, Mincha also yesterday, so I am a little mixed. Okay, let me read this. Now the foremen of Israel found themselves in trouble because of the order. So when Moshe goes inside to Pharaoh and does his miracles and says, let my people go, right? Pharaoh becomes more strict and says, I won't give you the fodder for making the straw, for making the bricks, but you have to make as many bricks as as was earlier, your quota has to be the same. Now the foremen of the Israelites found themselves in trouble because of the order. You must not reduce your daily quantity of bricks. As they left Pharaoh's presence, they came upon Moses and Aaron standing in their path. And they said to them, may the Lord look upon you and punish you for making us loathsome to Pharaoh and his courtiers. So these people come to Moshe and Aaron and they say that Moshe, you are responsible, that because of your act, so everything was okay. We were able to give this quota and now you have made things much difficult. You are responsible. So then what happens? Moshe returned to the Lord and said, oh Lord, why did you bring harm upon these people? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, he has dealt words with these people and still you have not delivered your people. So you promised me you will deliver. I went there, nothing happened. Instead, their workload has been increased. Now they are complaining against me. Then the Lord said to Moses, you shall soon see what I will do to Pharaoh. He shall let them go because of a greater might. Indeed, because of a greater might, he shall drive them from his land. God spoke to Moses. This is the beginning of Vaira. God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov as El Shaddai, but I did not make myself known to them by my name, Yud-Ke Vav-Ke. So, to this whole episode, this midrash is addressing. And God spoke to Moses. Rabbi Meir said, God can be here be compared to a mortal king. So he said, God is explaining to Moses. See, on a very short level, what really happened? Why did this need to happen? If I ask you, why did this need to happen? That Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh. Pharaoh, instead of listening to them, makes things difficult for Am Israel. And then Moshe come back and complain to God. Why is this? This is a crucial aspect. If you look into it in any leadership book, if this doesn't happen, the person cannot become a leader. We have spoken about this last year, I believe, or a year before that. But I'll just repeat it. On a short level, this is a very crucial step in the making of Moses. Earlier, when Moshe was addressed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Mount Sinai, or wherever he was in the burning bush, right, on Mount Sinai, what was Moshe's reaction? You send somebody else. I am not interested. That was Moshe's reaction. So God forced him to go. Correct? Everybody with me? God says, no. I am the one who decides. You go. He gives all types of examples. I'm hard of speech. Finally, he says, you send whoever you want to send. I don't want to go. He says, no. You are going. If you don't, I'll kill you. That is how. He says, Aaron is already waiting for you. You go over there. Now, Moshe, as we said, once there is this clarity that there is nevuah, that he has to listen to God. He doesn't have a freedom of choice happening over there. His freedom of choice is taken away. And he comes over here, he meets Aaron, and out of pressure from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he goes and speaks to Pharaoh. Right? But for him to be a good leader, something needs to happen. What needs to happen? He has to become the Moshe that he was 80 years or whatever, 60 years ago, when he was a 20-year-old. Then, out of his own initiative, he recognizes that these people need my help and I need to go and help them. Correct? When he was 20, when he was in his youth. So he goes there and he gets involved in a fight and kills that Egyptian. Right? Then he gets involved into Israelites fighting and tries to stop them. Correct? Why is he doing that then? Because he is involved, because he has empathy for them, because he relates with them. Correct? Now, 60 years in Midian, he recognizes and he has taken out of his head that these people can be helped. They are stiff-necked, they cannot be helped, they are against themselves. Even if I want to help them, nobody is going to help themselves. That is his attitude when he goes to Har Sinai. So when Moshe is asked by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, go and get them out from Egypt, he said, I'm not interested. For him to become interested again, he needs to have that empathy, that pain, that connect with the people. So when the people out because of his act go into descent and now are screaming for help, Moshe Rabbeinu now is really pleading for the people. He now becomes the leader of the people and he says to God, why did you make it? Why did you send me? Why did you make things difficult for them? You all are with me? Now Moshe is really the first time, is not the first time, but now after returning, he becomes the leader of the people because he now cares for the people. Now that aspect brings him to Hakadosh Baruch Hu to complain. The midrashi is asking, why are you complaining? Hakadosh Baruch Hu told you he is going to remove them from Egypt. You have to take it on belief. He will do it. He told you. So how could Moshe? That is the question they are asking. And Moshe spoke unto God. How can Moshe speak to God? But Moshe spoke to God on a pshat level because now he cares for the people, right? But on a in religious terms, you don't have belief. Let's look at a second midrash over here quickly. Then that will cast more. See this one. I appeared unto Abraham. God said to Moses, "Oh, for those that are gone and cannot be replaced, my time did I reveal myself. Many times did I reveal myself to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God Almighty. But I did not make known unto them that my name is Hashem, as I have told you, and still they did not criticize me, my ways. To Abraham I said, arise, walk to the land in the length of it and in the breadth of it, for unto thee will I give it. And yet, when he wanted to bury Sarah, he found no plot of ground until he had to purchase one. So God promised Abraham that he's going to give him the whole land of Israel, Canaan. Did he get it? No. When Sarah died, he still didn't have any piece of land of his own to bury her. He had to go and beg, or really he bought it, but he was pleading with these people to give that plot of land, right? Did he complain against God? No. He did not murmur at my ways. I said to Isaac, sojourn in this land, for unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these. Where is this? Oh. Something went wrong. 4. I missed something. Sorry about that. Let me see. 4. I appeared to God. Sojourn in this land for thee, and unto thy seed I will give all these lands. Yet, when he sought water to drink, he found none. Instead, and the herdmen of Gerar strove with Isaac's herdmen, saying, the water is ours. Yet he did not murmur. Even he didn't have water to drink. Yeah, whenever he was digging wells, they were throwing him out of there, right? He didn't have basic necessity. He did not murmur against me. I had promised him the whole land, to him and to his descendants. He didn't say anything. Yet when he sought a place to pinch his tent, oh, this is about Yaakov, my ways. I said to Yaakov, the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. Yet when he sought a place to pitch his tent, he found none until he purchased 100 kesita. And still he complained not at my ways, nor asked me, as thou hast asked me, what is my name? These people never asked me anything. That is the way you should believe. From a religious point of view, Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, how was their belief? They did not ask me, you promised this, you didn't give it to me. And why you come back and you say, you promised me, you go to Pharaoh and you are going to release them. And Pharaoh has made things difficult. Okay, that is where the midrash is moving from. So then he's saying it's compared to a mortal king. The king gives his daughter in marriage, invited a provincial to act as an agent between them. So that provincial is Moshe, right? And the daughter he's giving away is Torah, really. When this man began to talk proudly in front of the king said, who had made thy heart big? Or maybe the daughter is Am Israel, whatever. Now, what was it not I appointed thee as agent? what are you complaining? I appointed you as agent. And so at this point in time, you have not yet got it, but you will get it. Thus did God say to Moses, who caused thee to say all these things? If not I who promoted thee to high rank. Rabbi Yehuda said, Moshe argued thus, when thou didst say unto me, go and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, thou didst speak unto me with the attribute of mercy. So then Rabbi Yehuda is explaining, see, no, Moshe is not really arguing. What is happening is, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, when you met me in the burning bush, you were with you approached me in the attribute of mercy, and you said, I will let you go. But suddenly now, maybe you have changed your attribute, and it is the attribute of justice. Thou didst speak unto me with the attribute of mercy, promising that thou wouldst one day redeem them. Now I fear lest before I came, it changed to the attribute of mercy, justice. So God said to him, and that's why God then again claims to him that I am the Lord. Lord Yud Kevavke is attribute of mercy. So God sort of confirms, no. The Pharaoh is making things difficult, but I am still attached to you with the attribute of mercy. Hence he said unto him, I am the Lord. Okay. Now this midrash is really opening a lot of keys, that are a problem with the pasuk. The pasuk is, I have never told Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov in this name, Yud Ke Vav Ke, never revealed this name to Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, but to you I am revealing this name. But we had even discussed this last year, that Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov did have the knowledge that Hashem is called Yud Ke Vav Ke, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov. But in this pasuk, he says, by the name of El Shaddai. El Shaddai, I was known to them, but now I am revealing this name to you. So Rabbi Yehuda is explaining, why is God underlining this, that I am revealing you the Yud Ke Vav Ke attribute, is because Moshe Rabbeinu had a problem. Moshe Rabbeinu's problem was, he thought that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has changed his approach, and he is approaching them through justice, and justice is Elohim. So now Hashem is sort of comforting him, making him realize, don't worry, even if this is a little difficult, I am still, to Am Israel, I am approached by this name, Yud Ke Vav Ke, and further down the line, it will always be Yud Ke Vav Ke. Somehow, this is again a big concept to understand, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has different attributes through which he interacts with the world. And it is not so simple to, throughout the Torah, it is only hinted. Okay, we don't have this information offhand. So in the midrash, now we may be aware of these ideas, because we have spoken in the Gan Eden story, where Hashem's name is Elohim, and then Hashem Elohim, right? So that these aspects, the reason the Torah uses these names is because these names have a symbolic aspect of mercy, or symbolic aspect of justice, or whatever it is. But when you are just reading the Torah and you don't know, so this midrash is really pointing it out to you and underlining the fact that this is what is the discussion happening. Okay, any questions? No questions. David signed out. No, you're there. Yeah.
No, none from my side.
Okay. So there are two midrashim which we will take next week. Maybe there may be a little overlap again with the parashiot, but these are the interesting ideas that come out from the midrashim. Basically, we want you to. The reason I'm bringing midrashim again is so that you will open yourselves up to creative thinking and interpreting these midrashim. You have to have a little bit of ideas, like over here, fact that Yud Ke Vav Ke is the attribute of mercy has to be known, right?
What time?
Bol. Judah wants to add a little bit.
Okay, just to give a Kabbalistical twist, I'll add few things. See, when Hashem is saying that he was known as El Shaddai by Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. So you need to understand what El Shaddai means. El Shaddai means the God who said thy. Thy means enough. Thy means enough, right?
Right.
So it is like when the creation is happening and everything is happening, it is telling you that God set barriers in order that the creation should be in such a way that it should be balanced between divinity and non-divinity. Because actually, whenever you see, like even if you study knowledge and everything, you can see that whatever is happening, you can go to the boundaries of the knowledge, both scientifically and spiritually. Okay, like spiritually also, you can see that there are no boundaries to the spiritual world, and scientifically you can go, then you can explain everything. Like after the Big Bang, so you can explain what is before the Big Bang. Everything you can explain. So what does El Shaddai means? El Shaddai means that it is a balance between the created world and the creator. It is such a balance that the creator hides behind the creation. Like God himself, he is the creator of everything, but he hides behind this creation in such a way that if you approach the creation scientifically in a physical way, you think that it is enough. Everything has cause and effect. Everything is happening according to a program. Everything is happening because this is happening, that is happening. Everything is fixed. You don't need a God to just see the physical world. But the real thing is that God is hiding behind this physical world in such a way that everybody thinks that the physical is everything. Okay, so this name El Shaddai means understand. When somebody goes beyond this physicality and understands that there is some divine thing, divinity behind this physicality, so it is revealing the name El Shaddai. El Shaddai means to reveal that there is something which says that this is enough, or this is balance. Everything is balanced. There's no need for me to reveal myself. That God doesn't need to reveal himself every time there is rain, every time there is snowing, or every time there is something happening in this natural world, or anytime something is happening in your life. God doesn't have to reveal himself. Divinity doesn't have to reveal himself and tell that this is I, whatever is happening to me, I am doing it. Okay. But going beyond this, you need faith, belief and faith. No, with belief and faith, you can go beyond this, and then you understand that there is something which is behind this. And understanding God in this way and understanding and contacting God in this way is known as to know God by the name El Shaddai. That he is the one who says what is to be revealed and what is not to be revealed. So this is the level which Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob really found God, because they were the people who found God. God was not looking for them. Abraham started to look for God, and he found God. How did he found God? By the way of El Shaddai. Now, the name Yud Ke Vav, what it is telling? It is telling you this is the same God which is the creator, hiding everything. But now he's going to show you his merciful ways, how everything happens in history according to his plan. Because even if you think that this divinity is hidden and all the material world is happening according to material laws, cause, effect, big bang, small bang, whatever bang, but this name reveals that even whatever is happening is according to a plan. And this plan is God's plan, this divinity's plan. And this plan is been revealed to these people, the nation of Israel. What is revealed to them? That I had promised your fathers that I am going to make you a nation, that I am going to give you a land. So this was, everything was promised to them, and they had faith in God. But now these people are going to actualize this promise, and they are going to know that everything, this 400 years, whatever was happening according to the plan of God. And this is the plan of God. And this is the name by which we know God. Because we don't connect God only by my God. Like God who is in my life and who is taking care of my life. Like I was born and I will die, and this was my God. Whenever we talk about God, what we say? My God, my father's God, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob's God. So we connect with this attribute of God, which is a long 3,000, 4,000 year history, and we connect to this God because we know that He started something, and He started this start of something, and this start of something is going through me, and I am part of this plan. I am the part of. I am not part of this creation, which is concealing the divine, but I am part of that, which is plan of God. That I come in the plan of God, and this plan, because He has sent me here to do something here, because it is a plan. Therefore, God says that this is the name by which I will be known for all the generation, because every generation, because this is the chosenness. Why we are chosen? Because we are in His plan. Our being here in this world is His plan, because He has some plan for this world. He has some plan, and to unfold this plan, He is choosing us to be here. And knowing this is knowing this name, Yud Ke Vav Ke. And then you come to know that this is the mercy. It is a merciful name. Why merciful name? Because this is a mercy which is He's giving to this creation, that you are here. Hope I made something more confusing to you, but hope you understood. Okay, Joshua, just add something that we can finish.
Thank you. No, you were not confusing at all. It was, in fact, very, very apt and proper to explain the whole idea. We have discussed these ideas last, not exactly like Judah said with the Kabbalistic input, but some of the aspects in last year's parasha. Please look at that class, and you will get a better idea when you add Judah's insight into it. But that is basically the mystery of Yud Ke Vav Ke and El Shakai. Okay, hope that was interesting. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask now or ask me on WhatsApp or share with me on a phone call, whatever is convenient. So we can include those questions in the next classes also. Thank you. Shavu Atov Mevorach. Have a fantastic week ahead. And see you next week. Same time.
Thank you, and God bless.